All right, Matt Murphy with C Incorporated. We're back here with Richard Ennis Electric. We wanted to talk to him a little bit more. This time we want to talk more about, what to expect in a safety person, a little bit about, the role of a safety person. We have a lot of clients that go, hey, I want to hire a safety person, or I'm looking for a safety person. And the next question out of my mouth is usually, what kind of safety person are you looking for? And I get like a deer in headlights look. I don't know if you get that, but they just don't know what they're looking for. They want somebody, they think, safety's pretty easy. All you got to do is walk around and tell people to put on hard hats, right? So Richard, you've been with Ennis now for 3+ decades. Tell us a little bit about your role. How did you get your role?
So my dad came to me, and we started doing federal work, or a lot more federal work, and basically we had to have a full-time safety person on the job. So he figured, well, if we got to have a full-time safety person, we might as well make you that person.
That's nice.
Get you the training and push you out there to do it for the rest of your life. Job was area Rios, downtown DC. So I mean that's where I started, and that's been 30 some years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I mean, Richard was in the first CSST that I was in and helped teach. I think that was like 98, 99, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Back when Bob's still in the company and whatnot. So, we've kind of known each other for a little while. Being a safety person, and now, there's one myth right there, right? You work for your parents, you get the cush job, right? Because being a safety person is a cush job,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
So,
it's easy.
Yeah, everybody can do it. All you got to do is say OSHA says. But being that and then switching to the ownership role, what kind of changed for you? Did anything change for you?
No, I mean, it still stays the same. I mean, you care about the reputation of your company, you care about the quality of the service you provide, and you care about your employees. So, I mean, it all kind of ties in together,
Sure.
Safety is just a huge part of construction nowadays. I mean, there was a point in time where construction industry was killing a lot of people, and,
Yeah.
we had to make some changes. And so being safety or doing safety is a huge part of every company, and it should be valued just as that. I mean,
Sure.
it controls a lot.
And a lot of our companies that we quote unquote say get it, the ownership takes a role in safety. They don't try to farm it out. Some people have the false sense of security that, hey, if I hire a safety person or I hire a safety consultant, right, I can just push it off on them if things go wrong. That's not necessarily true.
No, it's definitely. I mean, you have to take if you have a major accident, it's going to affect you, all the way up to the top man in the company. It is going to affect you.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to bite the bullet and take responsibility and do what's right.
Sure. Now, I have a ton of clients, and they get to that point where they go, I think I need a full-time in-house safety person. Can you go find me a safety person? And again, I'll ask them, what do you want out of your safety person? And they just go, well, I want a safety person. Like, is there a difference? Can you talk a little bit about what companies kind of have to think maybe ahead if they're going to try to hire a safety person, or some of the parts and pieces of a safety person?
Well, I think the biggest part of it is the education. You just can't throw it out there. You just can't go out there and wing it. You have to know what you're talking about. So if somebody's looking for a safety person, they definitely need somebody that's been educated, maybe even a little experience. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things I think is they have to have a little position of authority. I mean, You can't just go out and say, hey, you're doing this. Or the one I like is when the safety guy's out there and he's watching something on the job and he sees something wrong and he goes back to his office and shoots an email. You can't do that. You have to have somebody that can step up on that at that point in time and say, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this unsafe, we need to correct it, and we need to do it now. You can't, like I say, you can't hide behind a computer.
Sure. So you got to have a little personality
So
there.
you got to have some personality, you got to have a little bit of authority.
Sure.
And use it. So that would be my biggest thing. If you're trying to get a safety guy, is get somebody who's educated, experienced, and has a little bit of authority or personality, as you called it,
To me, it's also about approach. I tell people all the time that, out of a safety person, you can have a safety person that's good in the field. You can have a safety person that writes programs really well. You can have a safety person that teaches very well, but you usually don't get all three.
Yeah,
right? If you're going to get a safety person, you're going to figure out what best two you're going to go after and set those goals. If if you've got a ton of training to do, maybe that makes sense, right? To get somebody who has a strong training background so you can do a lot in-house. You know, we don't need Cartman running around, you must respect my authority, right? We don't need that. I can tell you, I've been on job sites before where it's 100% glove policy, right? You're using a threading machine, pipe threader for putting up a, pipe for fire sprinkler or something like that. Well, it says right on the machine, you can't use gloves because they can suck you into that. There's machines like that. And some of the safety people have lost their mind, but our policy is, okay, well, are you going to write something that says you're going to be responsible for their fingers if they go through? You got to have a little bit of common sense and kind of working knowledge of what's going on, right?
Exactly.
We always talk about it's hard to hire people right now, and we're seeing safety people, like you said, they got an OSHA 30 hour online, and suddenly they're the safety person the next day. And, I got dumped like that. It was, here's the book, you're a safety person now. And it's, what goes on.
Welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was at Dulles Airport. And we had a guy that was, down in a trench and got him out and it caved. And I thought I was going to get fired because the guy yelled at me. It was a bullet dodge, that's for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah, one thing we see with outside safety people when it works well, again, I think you hit it dead on the head, education. Let's
Definitely.
use it as an education point. Let's talk and say, hey, maybe there's a reason you're doing it this way, but why don't you tell me? Maybe it's a two-way education. Why don't you tell me how you're doing it and why you're doing it that way? And maybe I can give you a couple little safe ways that might make it a little safer.
We had, just like you said earlier, the guy comes up, hey, man, it is our policy 100% gloves. But this guy just went through the training on the 1224 threader, and it spits it out right there in the middle. Do not wear gloves with this, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you're breaking their company policy.
But you're safer for it.
But we're working safe. We're working how we're supposed to.
We had a situation where if you work over water, you're supposed to have a flotation device, right? And they were working on a boom lift. They were electricians. They were putting LEDs out on this dock area, and they were reaching a 60-foot boom lift across the water, so they didn't have to be out on the docks floating around. Well, if you're on a lift, what do you have to be? Tied off, right? Well, which one's going to work, right? If it goes in the water, you've only got so much lead there, right? Yeah, but he's tied off. No, so we had to go back. I mean, OSHA usually leaves that. If it's more hazardous to do what we tell you that's the base minimum, and you can prove it,
right?
Then write down your work order, right? Write down how you're going to do it. So you've worked in-house as a safety person. You've had an in-house safety person before.
Right.
You worked with an outside safety consultant. What's kind of the differences in those roles? Because some people don't know, hey, am I big enough to have a full-time in-house person? Maybe I can take part of that role. Maybe somebody else can take part of that role. Or maybe we need to hire that full-time person or an outside person. What's the differences there with those roles?
Well, I mean, to me, they all work. I mean, they all make you better as a company and have a safety program. We use a safety consultant. You might know them. But now, with the safety consultant, they're coming out there and they're sending their guys around. And all of a sudden, they don't know who these guys are. They don't know who these guys work for. So, I'm not saying that our guys do anything. They're always wearing their safety stuff, and they're always, following safety to the T.
Do you ever find being the person inside when people are looking at your people and going, who's responsible for your safety? Do they go, hey, it's Richard. He's over at the office? Or, I mean, you guys are pretty smart now. They kind of take it on the chin themselves. But
yeah, no, I mean, if it comes to me and they ask, who the safety guy is, I try to see the severity of it. And if it's really bad, I say, well, we have a safety consultant. I'm going to talk to Matt.
Way to push it.
No.
We see it all the time where it's, the in-house safety person is one person.
Yeah.
So are they writing a program this week? Are they meeting with GCs and prospective, clients this week? Are they going out and dealing with OSHA this week? Oh, by the way, there's an injury now, and they have to get this training done. They can't be 9 places at once. So in-house has its limitations, but it's also good because if I want you to go down and sit on a site for 2 days, I can just say, hey, Richard, go sit on a site for 2 days. And something that I didn't even think of before, but you guys, when you went employee-owned, did you see a difference in safety change in attitude now that it was affecting their bottom line a little bit, maybe more?
At first, not so much, but then when these guys, when they got into it and they started understanding, what the employee owned mean, what it meant to them, seeing some of the bottom line stuff, definitely has helped. There's been a huge buy-in when you realize that, hey, any money we save by not having accidents goes back to you guys. any break we get on insurance, being part of the captive, all those little things kind of add up. So yeah, it's been a huge difference with the accountability of these guys and the buy-in.
Sure.
So, but yet, yes, to answer your question, yes, going to the ESOP definitely made it, easier to maintain. It made these guys, the buy-in was a whole lot easier.
And it's a different education level too, right? I mean, they start to understand. Like when I talk to safety people, I always say if you want to get a message across to ownership, you got to talk in dollars and cents.
Yeah.
If you're going to try to get it across to employees, it's got to be about them and their family. What's important to them. When they're employees and owners, all of a sudden those dollars and cents and the impact of their family, they're like, whew, it becomes an issue.
Definitely a huge buy-in there.
I constantly get clients asking me, okay, I need a safety person. Can you get me a safety person? It's going to be on this job, or can you get me a new safety director? And I go, well, they're just not like growing on trees out there. And they're so baffled because they think it's such an easy job. Can you talk a little bit about the safety job and kind of, maybe your thoughts behind why there's a shortage?
Well, I mean, there's a shortage of people in every trade, everything. But the shortage of again, that person that can have a nice personality or be authoritative, educated, caring. I mean, you just don't find those guys every day. Safety is definitely not an exception to the shortage of people out there.
I don't know about you, but when I got the safety role, I quit. I literally quit. Like the guy looked at my dad and said, well, you're my superintendent, looked at me and said, well, you're my safety person. I handed my hard hat back. I said, I don't need to be hated that bad. Like I didn't understand anything except everybody hated the safety person when they came out. That's the only thing I was taught.
Well, see, I was made safety person by my dad, and it was no quit there. It's like, this is your job now.
Yeah,
here you go.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect to be a safety person. I can tell you that. And I kind of thought the same thing. Safety person comes out and yells at me for glasses. How hard is that job? Like I want that guy's job.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's like you said. It's easy to be a safety guy. Sure, it is. Yeah, you go out on a job and you're that guy. Like, oh man, he's the guy I keep an eye on us. A couple years ago, I kind of made it a point to how can I make things better? How can I do a better job of this? And the one thing I realized is I need to go out there and every time I'm on a job site to go and talk to every one of my employees. Even if it's just, hey man, how you doing? Good morning. How was your weekend? You got everything you need? You got all the proper PPE? Just engaging with them just a little bit. And all of a sudden, man, my job started to get a whole lot easier. Because when we had the other safety person back here then, they were all talking to him,
Sure.
Because he's just another dude that works for the company. He's out here.
And he was personable, and he talked to him.
So that I made it a point to go out there and just get to know these guys. Hey, and all it takes is a good morning or
sure.
Hey man, how you doing? And all of a sudden, you're not the safety guy anymore. You're actually just another dude working for the company, and you start building that relationship. But yeah, engaging with them has definitely made a huge difference, and getting rid of that. It's an easy job. It's the safety guys here. Everybody hates a safety guy, but
yeah, it's changed. I think it's changing now. I mean, it's evolved in my career, and I'm sure during your career. Safety, what's that? And then it was, oh my God, you guys do OSHA 10 hours? That's awesome. You guys are really stepping above and beyond. Now it's, well, if you don't do the 30, I mean, why am I even looking at you? If you're not wearing helmets instead of hard hats, it's not even if you're going to wear a hard hat anymore. Now it's, do I have to wear a helmet or a hard hat?
You got to care for your employees, and you want them to go home as healthy as they got there. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Sure, and I hope you've never been in the situation, but we've had other clients, and we've been in the situation where the bad call is made, right? And it's the mommy or daddy is not coming home anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's a day in an ownership or a safety person's life you never want to deal with.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
That's pretty deep and tough. And you're kind of thrown right there. I mean, ownership and safety, I say they're literally handcuffed together because if it's gross negligence, I mean, they can both go to jail. So
yeah.
It's a pretty tough deal.
Yeah.
And I would say that there are safety people out there that I've dealt with that may not have had the personality to go out in the field and do it, but they were really good at writing policy. They were really good at getting some of the training done. But they would hire outside people to take care of that shortcoming for, let's get, we've done sites for them. They might engage somebody else and start bringing them up and grooming them to be an assistant safety and that sort of thing. So I think there's ways to work with it, but I think, most employers have to understand, you got to know what you want out of a safety person, right? You got to know what those qualities need to be, and you got to know what your people respond to.
And how to use their quality,
Yeah.
Definitely how to use their qualities.
I get people that, I hired such and such, they were a safety person on this site for so-and-so. And then they're in there and they don't know what to do. Now they're running a program, and what does that mean, right? It's not, I'm showing up and making sure everybody's, in the trench safely, or everybody's ladders are right. So obviously as an owner, you've got to look at production, you've got to look at quality, you've got to look at safety. I mean, do they all get the same importance, or does one outweigh the other?
We considered everybody's job, and we considered a condition of employment.
Okay.
We need you to do what's right, not what's quick, not what's easy. You just need to do it right. And it doesn't take any more time most of the time if you're doing the right thing. It doesn't make it harder if you're doing the right thing.
Especially if you pre-plan for it, right?
Especially if you pre-plan and if you have the stuff you need there to do it.
Right.
So you just need to do the right thing at all times. And you wouldn't think it'd be a hard thing to tell somebody, hey, do the right thing so you don't get hurt.
Right.
But, accidents happen, stuff still happens. So definitely a condition of employment. I mean, it's one of those things. If you don't want to work safe, if you want to take shortcuts, if you want to do things the wrong way, you're not going to be here very long.
Gotcha.
Because it's not worth the risk.
Sure. Yeah, I like what you said. Fast isn't always good. I tell people, you do fast for so long, you start to have to do it again.
Well, doing it the right way, if you're doing it the right way, you can do it the right way and still be fast.
Yeah.
And you can still get things done.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, the more you do it the right way, the easier it gets and the faster you get. So
Sure.
Let's just do it the right way the first time.
What advice would you give to somebody who maybe they're interested in becoming a safety person, maybe they're an up-and-coming safety person, maybe this is their first safety job or whatever, but they're listening, and what is maybe a couple words of advice or a couple items that you'd like to share?
This sounds like a broken record there. Point is, educate yourself. Stick with the education. Stay up to date with the training. Engage with your fellow employees. Let them know that you're not just there to be the safety cop. That you actually care for these guys and you want to make sure they go home all right. So again, just stress that we do the things correctly in the right way every time.
Yeah.
If you just have a little bit of ounce of caring for someone, it makes it easy.
Yeah, I tell everybody, you got to have passion for the job.
Yeah.
And when I'm interviewing people and stuff like that, I ask them, what drives you? What's your passion for safety? And, I can weed them out really quick when I get the people going, passion for safety? I mean, I'm just the safety person. Well, you're not going to be here long.
Yeah.
Like, I get that you're filling a role, but that's not going to happen. You've got to want it.
Yeah.
I didn't want it at the beginning, but I had the trench issue, and then a couple years later, I dealt with somebody who fell, and it was a fatality. And that was my first fatality. And that really drove it home, right? That cemented, why is this important? And, what could be done differently, right? Anytime you have an accident, like you said, there's still accidents. You guys get it. You guys have a lot of people. There are still accidents, and
That's going to happen.
Learn from those accidents and make sure that accident never happens again.
Right. One thing I was going to, if you're looking for a good safety person, is you have to make a 100% commitment to safety. You can't be doing safety just to kind of check a box, and you see that a lot. Oh yeah. Oh, we got to have a full-time safety guy on this job, and it's like, all right, we're going to go get Joe Blow back here. We're going to give him the OSHA 10, and he's our safety guy. If you're one of those companies you think, we're too small to have a safety person, hire a safety consultant. Let them come in and help you. Let them be the bad guy for a little bit, so to speak.
Sure.
And then as you get bigger or things needed, then you hire that person. But that gives you a little bit of time to maybe find the right person, find the guy that's educated, find the guy with experience. Again, you just have to make a 100% commitment to it.
I think that's huge.
Getting the right person.
Yeah, you're huge right from the get-go with that. We've had clients before, they're like, well, we need a safety person, and then we bring them in, and they fight everything that safety person brings to the table. So our approach is always use a safety committee, right? Let that safety person be a quarterback and help get the information there, but let the supervisors and workers and stuff tell you what the problems are, and let's try to help you kind of fix that. I'm starting to see some clients use us, like you said, they bring us on because they're not quite big enough for a safety person, or they're thinking about a safety person and they're trying to educate themselves on what is that safety person's roles. It's not really fair to take a regular safety person that doesn't look at doing inspections every day and put them against one of my inspectors, you know?
Right.
Those guys, that's all they do is live, eat and breathe, going to the site, finding the issues,
Right.
explaining those issues. So it's tough to kind of compare the two. But, you know, what do you need out of the safety person? And we even have a bunch that have had us sit in on final interviews and that sort of thing, because they ask the same questions, you know, what does your 3 and 5 year long term look like at this company and this, that, and the other. My questions are more of the, you're going out to do a safety training. You've got 20 people coming to the safety training. You just got a phone call that a crane tipped over on one of your job sites. Oh, by the way, OSHA's over here in this state on a job site. What are you going to do and how are you going to handle that? Yeah, that's what I get a lot of, you know. And do they think through it? Do they talk through the process? Do they have any plan? You know, and people are always, what are you looking for? I'm looking for somebody who can plan that. Like, how are they going to handle mass chaos?
Yeah.
You hope it never happens.
That's where that personality part comes in a lot too.
Yeah.
You gotta have the right personality.
For sure. Safety is a sales position. It's a cheerleading position. It's a counseling position.
Mm-hmm.
It's a training position. There's so many things that go into a safety person, to me at least.
Man, safety people are awesome.
They are. They're really cool. They're really cool.
And I appreciate you coming out here and helping me make my safety program better. I know you guys do a great job for us, and you know, you guys hold me accountable. You guys hold everybody in my company accountable for, you know, making sure we're doing the right things every day. And I appreciate what you guys do for us. And thanks for including me here on your little podcast. Probably going to be a movie star now.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, now that they've seen me out there,
Natural talent.
I'm probably going to need a new safety guy, because I'm going to, you know, be signed by like Time Warner or something to.
You need an agent.
Yeah, I'm going to need an agent.
I get 10%.
Hair and makeup guy.
Definitely the hair guy.
So
we've got the same hair guy, I think. No, but thank you for having us out. And, you know, we've dealt again with Richard for a long time and seen his program come about. And, you know, he's one of those guys that get it, right? We have well over 100 clients, and, you know, we have dozens that get it. But Richard's one that I could reach out to because we've known each other for so long that that's just what we kind of decided to come out and chat with him. I know he'd give you honest answers, and we appreciate that. And we, from the consulting side, we just kind of give you the information. It's how you march with it. So I appreciate the thanks, but it really goes back again to your management for getting it and for holding your employees accountable. We work for you. We can't tell you what to do, but we can give you the information and empower you with that information, and that's kind of what I think we've done.
that works good for me. I mean, right down to where I had to have a quick training class. So I called Elliot on Friday, and I got a training class tomorrow. So
there you go.
I appreciate you guys being there for us.
Of course.
It was something I needed in a hurry, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate you giving us some advance notice. Usually people call me and say, hey, I needed this training 2 weeks ago. Can you do it like now?
I'll wait till next time. I'll wait for the day of.
Nice. Appreciate that. Well, that's kind of what we want to do with some of these podcasts. And again, please make sure you sign in and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. If you want to be part of our newsletter that we put out a safetygram. You know, it doesn't cost anything to sign up for that either. So, you know, contact the office or visit the website, zinconline.com, and get signed up. But we appreciate your time, Richard. We appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you.
Hopefully we go on without having too many issues in the field and keep this thing growing.
Let's keep it going.
Very good. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there.